Now, I haven't seen anywhere on YouTube where somebody is calling out both the right on their bullshit and the left. So just for that alone, give me a subscribe, give me a like, give me a comment. I need your support. This is a brand spanking new channel, and I'm building it from the ground up. No promotions, no paid ads, none of that. Just calling people out. So help a brother out. Like, comment, subscribe, and share this with someone that you care about or someone that you want to call out. They've released millions of pages on Epstein, pictures, videos, emails, letters, just tons of things, millions of things that everyone's going to have to go through and parse through and really dig out anything of any use. But in the meanwhile, we're going to get some nuggets. I may be a little biased, but I'm not a hypocrite. I've never been a Democrat. I've never been a Republican. And not because I'm not politically savvy. I just noticed at a very young age that you can't trust politicians. With all the things that's going wrong in this country, $37 trillion in debt, failing school systems all throughout the country, failing healthcare programs and options throughout the country, a population where the average person can't even write a check for $5,000. You know, 70, it's like 60-70% of the households are single parent households. You don't get into that situation without really bad leadership. And you don't do that with one party. This is both parties' fault. This is all parties' fault. And that's how equal heat was born, realizing that this is everybody's fault. So we're going to apply equal heat to both sides, to all sides. I may be a little bit biased, but I'm no hypocrite. I'll call it like I see it. We're going to do it right down the middle, fair, one standard for everybody, equal heat. So let's get back into this Epstein thing. It's time to call some folks out.
Whoopi Goldberg is in the Epstein files. And after all of the stuff that they said, well, you know, as far as Democrats are concerned, if you're in the files,
Epstein
you're
files.
as good as guilty.
Let's see what we got here.
Fake list.
Oh, yeah. A fake list.
And I'm on it.
Oh, you're not on the real list. You're on the fake list.
I was apparently, I don't know. They said I was on the island. They said, I'm like, I don't go anywhere.
Kind of like Trump. Fake news, fake list. You're not on the real list. You're on the fake list.
It's like, you know, so I'm just going to say, you know, and there's been a lot of stuff recently. I don't know what I've done to anybody, but apparently there are a lot of these kind of sites that are, what do you call them? They're
parody or
they're satire sites. But people don't realize that they can be harmful.
Oh, okay. They're satire. When the story's about you, it's satire. When it's about Trump or someone you don't like, it's called news. Got that, everybody? So now it's fake news now. Oh, and by the way, she didn't know that people took unproven allegations and spoke about them like they were fact. No, she didn't know that. I mean, for the past 10 years, that's pretty much how she made her whole career. But I digress. Let's move on. Let's see what they got next.
Several members of The View have been listed in the Epstein files 46 times. You got Whoopi Goldberg 21 times, Alyssa Fair-Griffin 20 times, Joy Behar 3 times, Anna Navarro twice.
Hey, they're all in
Remember now, with The View ladies, if you're in the files, you're guilty.
Oh, no,
so
they
decided to reach out to borrow Jeffrey Epstein's plane. Now, you tell me how close people have to be to ask, can you borrow somebody's plane? Remember, anyone who talked to Epstein was guilty in her eyes. Now, this here...
Wait a minute. I'm going to back this up. What did that say right there? So she was borrowing Epstein's jet. You know, you got to be pretty tight to borrow somebody's jet. You know, I don't even let people borrow my car. Now, I couldn't imagine if somebody wanted to borrow my jet. Yeah, that wouldn't be happening. We'd have to be very close for that to happen. Okay. Let's go on. Let's see what else I got.
In her eyes. Now, this here, the Epstein files have exposed the sordid, often parallel universe that the world elites inhabit. Roman Polanski fled America rather than face serious prison time after his conviction for drugging and R-wording, you know, a teenager.
Now, this was
years later, Whoopi Goldberg defended him after he was stopped on Switzerland. Switzerland refused to extradite him back to the U.S. The elite protect each other. So, yep, taking up a PDF files, Roman Polanski.
Now, that was a fact. Roman Polanski, all of Hollywood, not just Whoopi Goldberg. She's just one of them. They're on this mission right now where they're talking about the victims and protecting all women. But let me tell you, Roman Polanski was found guilty of that. He did what they said he did. And instead of him going in there and getting his sentencing and finishing up the proceedings, he fled. And after he fled and everyone knew the story, they knew what he did, guess what? In February 2003, he still won Best Director for a film that he made. It was The Pianist. And they were so proud of him, even though he was absent, guess what? Harrison Ford accepted the Oscar on his behalf and took it to another award show out in Europe and gave it to him there. I mean, these people just are amazing. Could you imagine if this guy right here, Trump, had accepted an award for somebody who was even alleged to have done what Roman Polanski actually did, and then flew out of the country and went and presented it to him in an award type ceremony? Could you imagine the stories we'd be hearing about Trump and how he's guilty and how he promotes doing these things to 13-year-old underage girls? Could you imagine? What ridiculousness. But we're not done. Now, we're not going to just talk about The View and people on the left. So hang tight with me. We're going to get both sides. Because over here at Equal Heat, remember, we give equal heat to both the left and the right. Because we don't do hypocrisy. What's right is right, and what's wrong is wrong. It's one standard, and that standard's for everybody. So if you like that, you'll like the clips that I put together. Because I do hit the left, but I also hit the folks on the right. Because in the end, we can't trust none of these politicians. Let's go.
George Clooney. Because George Clooney is all up in the mix.
George Clooney.
Now I know Copenhagen has interesting girls. Ask Gianni if you should see agencies on his, I think that's supposed to be behalf, but Belf off to nice.
That doesn't
Still
sound
no
suspicious.
reply from Kiss.
The girls.
So this is Clooney and Epstein hanging out in Copenhagen, and they got some interesting girls. And you know,
Some
Gianni,
interesting girls. That doesn't sound
I believe that's
suspicious
Clooney's
at all.
wife. Here's a picture of Jeffrey Epstein, Reid Hoffman, the LinkedIn founder, and Clooney.
Has
With
anyone
McDonald's,
talked to Clooney yet?
with Mickey Mouse stuff in the pool, shirt wide open, no women in sight.
I don't remember George Clooney being called to the carpet.
While Reid Hoffman just recently came out publicly saying he only met Jeff at fundraiser dinners, nothing personal, even though we got pictures of them hanging out with Mickey Mouse floaties. And look at those rubber ducky floaties. What grown people has things like this in their pools with grottos? What grown person has that? Now this...
I don't know. It's possible that some people would have that, but it definitely is pretty suspicious. And, and George Clooney, to me, would have to answer to some of that. I mean, what the hell is that going on over there? How's he hanging out and so chummy with Epstein? And this is after he was already proven and convicted of being a sexual predator. So anyway, well, let's go. And you know what? And we're looking at this picture right here with Clooney and supposedly Obama. I'm hoping that this is fake. You know what? I don't think this is really Obama. I think somebody just put his picture on here. I'm gonna let it run either way because I don't. Well, you know what? Let's skip this because I don't want to see something that's fake. All right, let's go.
Now, in those draft emails, Epstein or whoever authored them makes graphic and explicit and unverified allegations about Gates. Within one email, Epstein claimed he helped, quote, get drugs in order to deal with the consequences of sex with Russian girls and set up illicit trysts with married women. The email also references Gates asking Epstein to provide Adderall for bridge tournaments. One draft email alleges that Gates tearfully asked Epstein to delete messages referencing an STD, writing, "Your request that I provide you antibiotics that you surreptitiously give to Melinda." It also says Gates asked him to delete explicit personal details about his penis. Now, a representative for Gates strongly denied those claims, telling CNN they were, quote, absolutely absurd.
I deny those claims about the emails.
Apparently, Jeffrey wrote an email to himself. That email was never sent. The email is false.
Yes, totally
so I don't know
false.
what his thinking was there. It just reminds me, every minute I spent with him, I apologize that I did that. It's factually true that I was only
that said that Trump was crazy for talking about fake
news. I never went to the island. I never met any women, and so the more that comes out, the more clear it'll be.
The more that comes out, the more clear it'll be. But what's come out so far is not clear.
It had nothing to do with that kind of behavior.
This is just all the murky stuff.
What also
stands
out, Aaron, is how much Epstein was advising Gates on his philanthropic strategy more than previously known. And it appears in at least one of those emails that Gates took Epstein's advice seriously. For instance, an email exchange from August 2014 shows Gates and Epstein discussing Gates' approach to philanthropy. Epstein wrote to Gates, I am confident that with the right approach, you'll be able to raise at least $100 billion. Everyone of hyperwealth is dealing with the same issues. How to give some away. I can see that selling yourself is not your strong point, to which Gates replied,
like a personal coach.
I agree. I should not use slides or even do a presentation. I do think a bit about how surprised I am at how tough doing good philanthropy is, and what really has worked might be interesting to them. I will find a time for us to talk this week. Those were not the only meetings, according to Epstein's calendars and emails, which we went through. Epstein's email listed a dinner with Gates in December 2010, a possible lunch in February 2011, followed by a dinner in April and October 2011. The records also show a planned meeting in Norway in August 2012, another a week later, 2 meetings in February 2013, a possible dinner in September 2013 in which Epstein extended an invite to a Norwegian diplomat. We also saw a Google Calendar reminder for a Skype meeting with Gates in January 2014, a meeting and a phone call in September 2014.
Sounds more like jet
setting.
setting.
There's also this February 2011 message where Epstein emailed an individual whose name is redacted saying, quote, you and I are invited to Seattle to spend serious time with Bill Gates. And again, Aaron, all of this occurring years after his 2008 conviction.
Yeah, years after that, of course, when he was registered sex offender already.
Years after this conviction. Okay. He was already a known sex offender, a sexual predator. And Bill Gates is doing all this jet setting and dinners with him all over the globe. But don't worry, guys. The more we find out, the more we're going to realize that it's fake news. Let's go.
The now former chairman of Paul Weiss, one of the nation's top corporate law firms, representing some of the biggest companies in the world. Karp abruptly resigned yesterday following the release of his email exchanges with Jeffrey Epstein, such as this 2015 email, in which Karp profusely thanked Epstein for hosting him, writing, quote, I can't thank you enough for including me in an email I'll never forget. It was truly once in a lifetime in every way, though I hope to be invited again, unquote. Epstein responded, writing, quote, you are always welcome. There are many, many nights of unique talents. You will be invited often, unquote.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. If that's not cringy, I don't know what would be. You are always welcome. There are many nights of unique talents. You will be invited often. Oh, my gosh. That sounds like a dope man for real. That sounds like the devil right there. That is definitely the devil. Jeez. And of course, who is the devil inviting and saying, don't worry, you're going to be invited? An attorney. But I digress. Let's move on and see what else I got.
We're also getting our first look at the hundreds of friendly text messages between Epstein and former Trump advisor, MAGA Svengali, Steve Bannon.
Trump, what's going on, Trump? You better talk to your boy. Your boy's over here hanging out with Epstein. Let's see what we got.
They include crude sexual jokes about women and Trump and discussions on...
Look at that guy. Of course he's going to say a joke about a woman. He hasn't even touched a woman in years unless he paid her. Look at this guy. Oh, my goodness. He's a wreck. Let's see what Butterball was doing.
Countless other topics. Put together, the communications suggest a much closer relationship between the two that was widely understood. There's also a nearly 2-hour-long, largely sympathetic interview filmed around 2019 that Bannon conducted with Epstein, which was reportedly originally intended to be part of a documentary intended to, we believe, rehabilitate Epstein's image.
Kind of like PR, man. You know, that's pretty bad. And what I will do is I'll disclose that I did actually see parts of that documentary, that interview that he did with Epstein. You know, if you have time, I would actually find that online on YouTube and watch it. You know, I'll see if I can put a link in the description. But not because you're going to admire him, but what you'll see is that, you know, this is how people who are diabolical work. They actually are smart. He's a smart guy. But you know what? So was Lex Luthor. You know, smart doesn't always mean good. Smart just means smart. Doesn't mean kind. Doesn't mean wise. Just means smart. And this guy was smart. I could see how he got himself intertwined with all these influential people, but he also exploited everybody's weaknesses. All right, let's go. So we got Steve Bannon, Trump guy. I'm glad Trump distanced himself from Steve Bannon back during his first term, and this is an example of that, and why you can't be too close to a Bannon if you're trying to do things for the public. Anyway, let's move on.
It's the dining room. Yeah. And he opens the doors and there's a massage table in the...
Now, this is the Commerce Secretary Lutnick, a Trump guy, because Epstein was his neighbor. He's describing walking into Epstein's house for the first time.
It's the dining room. Yeah. And he opens the doors, and there's a massage table in the middle of the room. And candles all around and stuff. So I ask very insightful, cutting questions. I say to him, massage table in the middle of your house? How often do you have a massage? And he says, every day. And then he gets weirdly close to me. And he says, and the right kind of massage.
The right kind.
Now my wife
like deep tissue?
is standing here. So she looks at me.
Oh, you said that in front
and
of
I
wife,
look at her. And we say, I'm sorry. We have to go. And we left. And in the 6 or 8 steps it takes to get from his house to my house, my wife and I decided that I will never be in the room with that disgusting person ever again. Really? So I was never in the room with him.
Okay, so first of all, I can tell you that that's a bunch of bullshit right there. So you see that? He said after the dude told him he gets the right kind of massage, that his wife and he looked at each other. His wife and him decided that he will never see this guy again. No. What happened was your wife heard the neighbor, your homeboy, tell you, hey, man, I get the right kind of massages player. You know what I'm saying? And she was like, hell no, you are not going to hang out with this dude because you're going to be getting all kind of happy endings. So, no, you ain't going to see this dude no more. And he just shook his head. Yeah, you're right, babe. I've been married long enough to know how that conversation went.
To get from his house to my house, my wife and I decided that I will never be in the room with that disgusting person ever again. Really? So I was never in the room with him socially, for business, or even philanthropy. If that guy was there, I wasn't going because he's gross.
Wow. You see? See, the dude talked about getting the right kind of massage, had the table in there, the wife heard all that, and he said, hell no. You know what? We decided that I'm not going to ever see you again. And you know what? That's smart. I'm glad he did that because you know what? Hanging out with someone like Epstein, obviously, now we could do Monday night quarterback. Obviously, that would have been a bad move. And this guy is very smart. Remember, he said he has very direct, real great questions. So he got to the bottom of it and he knew, you know what? Don't ever spend time with this guy because he is bad news. So I'm glad that he made that decision. Let's go.
A few moments later.
We had lunch on the island. That is true for an hour. And we left with all of my children, with my nannies and my wife. All.
Wait. Hold on a minute. Hold on. Well, I could have swore he said, wait a minute. He said he was on the island. What the hell happened here? I thought him and his wife said, what the hell? Wait a minute.
Takes to get from his house to my house. My wife and I decided that I will never be in the room with that disgusting person ever again. Really? So I was never in the room with him.
Oh, well.
Socially?
Well, wait a minute. Well,
for business.
I guess technically they wasn't in the room. They were on an island.
That guy was there.
Maybe that's what he meant.
I wasn't going because he's gross.
A few moments later.
We had lunch on the island. That is true for an hour. And we left with all of my children.
I meant never, other than the time I went and had lunch with.
All together. We were on family
island.
Vacation. We were not apart.
Oh,
I don't recall why we did it. There may be 10 emails.
Oh no, it was also some emails.
Me with him.
And maybe like 3 or 4 times.
Had anything to do with
I barely
that
had.
person.
I
literally met him 3 times over 14 years with widespread in between. I have done absolutely nothing wrong.
Oh my God, this guy. Now he's talking about he did nothing wrong. I am not going to be in the room with that guy ever again. Nowhere, ever. I mean, well, except for that time I went to his island. That's a U.S. territory past Puerto Rico. We got to fly to Puerto Rico. Then we got to get on a boat. Yeah, it's not like saying, hey, I went to lunch at my buddy's house. No. This is not something that you just did on a whim and on the way to somewhere else. You had to actually take a flight, get off in Puerto Rico, jump on a boat, or get a helicopter from there and fly to that island to get to his island. So, yeah, no, I'm not buying it. I could be totally wrong, but look at Epstein's Island on a map, and look at the trouble we have to go. He said that me and my family were going on vacation. Where were you going on vacation to where that shit was on the way? Come on, man. You went from zero. You went from that was the only time to now maybe there was 3 or 4 other times. Now, I mean, fortunately, I guess, unfortunately, we don't have Epstein around here to say, yeah, we only saw each other 3 times. So he's thinking of how many times were documented is what he's really thinking about. If you ask me, man, you know what? Trump has got to get rid of this guy. He's got to get out. Yeah, he's the Secretary of Commerce. And, just having, I don't think he was under oath when he gave this statement. It looks more like just like some interview. But, if you're going to make those kind of statements to the public, and then it's going to come out to be an absolute lie, gosh, that's tough. That's a tough thing to do and want to stay in that seat. Hopefully Trump gets rid of him. If Trump doesn't get rid of him, then, slowly Trump is becoming part of that swamp that he wanted to drain. All right. Well, thanks for watching. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. We'll be calling out the left and the right on the next one. Peace. Give me a like. Give me a comment. I need your support. This is a brand spanking new channel, and I'm building it from the ground up. No promotions, no paid ads, none of that. Just calling people out. So help a brother out. Like, comment, subscribe, and share this with someone that you care about or someone that you want to call out.